Joining me now is award-winning author, psychologist, founder of Strong Families, and bagpipe player extraordinaire, John Trent. It's good to see you, my friend. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. It's great to be with you as well. Thank you.
John, as we continue to make our way through the pandemic, what are some suggestions you have for folks in order for them to maintain their health mentally?
Yeah. Boy, isn't that interesting? Because so much of the focus has been on physically, wear your mask, worry about germs. And the thing that has tripped so many people up is not just the physical, but it's the emotional and spiritual and just the way we're wired. We have more than one component, and for a lot of us, we've had to cut off contact with so many significant people. And, you think, oh, that's not that big of a deal. It's a huge thing. So I think, first of all, if you're feeling stressed at this time, then that's normal. And that's so important to just realize, man, there's a lot of us that have felt anxious, that have felt depressed even. We're not made for this. We're not made to just be shut down and shut down and shut down. And then of course, it's like in Proverbs it says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. And we get our hopes up. Oh, it's going to open up, and then it gets extended, to stay in place, or we just get through the pandemic and then we walk right into all of the challenges that are going on today in terms of just the whole racial situation and all the hurts. And we think, Lord, is there ever going to be, an end to this? So, it's been a lot of 1-2 punches and tough times. So if you are feeling anxious or tense or struggling, it's okay, because a lot of us are.
Well, that's what I've read, John, is that anxiety and depression right now is just off the charts.
Yeah.
For people who are struggling with it, what's one important thing they can do?
Well, you just mentioned kind of, like one important thing, and I think that can be really, really crucial. Is, we talk about this thing, you and I have talked about it, called, the 2-degree difference, how small things can make a big difference, And I think for some of us, we think, well, man, I've got this big problem. I need a big solution. Well, no, actually, I think in a lot of ways, it is the small things. I mean, it's the faith, the grain of a mustard seed. It is doing little things, So for example, as you can, and I think most of us can now, you take a walk. You don't have to go run a marathon, but get out, walk around the block, Ken, how many people do you have on your cell phone, on your contacts? Probably 1,000, right?
Right.
Well, what I have been encouraging people to do, for example, one small thing is start with the A's, and let's say there's 20 things in the A's. Go down the A's in your contact list and pick somebody you haven't talked to in 3 or 4 or 5 years, and just call them and ask them how they're doing. I've been doing this. I'm down to like L. I've been doing this just each day. I'll take a letter and then pick one person. And it has been absolutely amazing as you step back into, talking to people and back into their lives, So, get reconnected with people, make sure the people you're living with, there's some small things we can do to really help encourage them as well.
Well, that's a great idea, John. I'm gonna start that this week.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I love that. John, you wrote a book called The 2-Degree Difference, and it's an excellent book. I highly recommend it. It gives you really practical steps to take on how you can improve your life one step at a time. John, how about that principle? How would it work, say, for example, between a husband or a wife, or between a parent and a child?
Yeah.
What would a 2-degree difference look like there?
Well, it's really interesting, but for a lot of us, I think what this pandemic has done is, put us in proximity with somebody for a long period of time. And anytime you do that, there's going to be some frustrations and tension. I mean, there's just no way around it, but there also can be some opportunities too. Okay. So let me give you a quick example. So it's real interesting. The word for forgiveness, guess what it literally means? It means to untie the knot, to untie the knot, So one of the things I'll do is I'll give people like a little 3-inch piece of rope, so not to hit somebody if they're upset or anything like that, but just picture you've got a little 3-inch piece of rope and you tie it in a knot, and so you just sit down with somebody you've been sheltering in place with all this time and say, hey, we're pretty soon we are going to be out of this. Okay. Most of us, we are getting out of it, but hey, is there anything that I've done, or what's one way I can maybe untie that knot? Okay. If there's been anything, is there anything knotted up? I mean, have some conversations with people. It's interesting. We tend to avoid problems and then we just don't talk about things. And boy, if we just took some time to, for example, a small thing could just be, hey, what's one thing, if I've done anything during this last month and we've been locked together that's frustrated you, well, let me untie the knot. Okay, let me just say, I'm sorry for one thing. Now, let me tell you, first of all, it might shock everybody in your home, kind of. And I thought, Cindy, my wife, I thought, it's going to be really hard for you to come up with. I mean, it took nanoseconds for her to, come up with something. And guess what? A lot of times it isn't the big things. It's the little things. Mm-hmm. Okay. So again, just start off with, maybe something small, leaning into a conversation, asking on a, now that's like, how do you get rid of the bad things? But then think of what are some small things you can do as well. Let me give you an example. All right. Ready? Yeah. All right, now take off your glasses just for a second, okay? Okay. All right, so now brighten your eyes, get them really big. Okay, all right. So now you can put them in. Now the next, it's a little bit easier to see when you do it that way, But when the next time you see that person that comes up to you, it could be the kid, could be your spouse, whatever. But it says in Proverbs, bright eyes makes the heart glad, okay? And so you're just going to go, yeah, have you ever walked in a room and you see somebody and they go, and I know that sounds so weird. And some people are going, gosh, what did I tune into? Okay. But interestingly, so like Purdue University did a study on, and so here's what they would do is they would hand you your library book back. And with half of the people, they tried not to even make contact. They just, hand them the book back. The other half of the people, they'd hand it back and hold on to the book. Okay, this is when you had to turn in a library book,
Yeah, right.
They would hand them the library book, they'd hold on to it. And what happens is then you'd look at them. And when they looked at you, they'd go, and then just hand it back. And so when they walked outside, people would go, hey, how do you like the Purdue Library? And it's amazing, but the people they made that kind of touch. Do you see what I'm getting at? Right. With their eyes, just that small tug on a book. Look at me. Look at me. I mean, that seems like such a small thing. But when you begin to really see those people that you can walk around all day, every day, day after day, but just stop for a minute and open your eyes and untie the knot. And it's these small things that can make a big difference.
Well, that is so rich, John. Are there any other words of encouragement you'd have for those in the Bay Area at this time?
Well, it's close to Father's Day, and again, for some of us, maybe, I grew up in a single parent home, and there was, I really struggled my relationship with my dad. But so I had to untie some knots with him, and realize what was his story. And boy, once you do that, once you really step into somebody's life and story, that can help you, untie those knots. But I think if we are a dad, or we have our dad, number one is, hey, call him, talk to him. Sometimes we model healthy relationships by us being the one, instead of us waiting to, for them to reach out, well, maybe we reach out to them, or maybe they skip over us. I was just talking to somebody where the grandparents, I mean, the person's a 10-time better grandparent than they ever was a parent. So they see them doing stuff with their grandkids that you never did with them. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
And so I think it's so easy sometimes for some of us to just, turn that anger turned inwards is depression. And we get mad at ourselves. Well, why didn't I say something? Why didn't I do something? And so that's why we need relationships, great friends like you, and faith. And just in this crazy time, we just really need that hope in the Lord that can really give us, those 2 degree, that willingness just to take a small step towards somebody else.
Oh, John, thanks so much for, John, thanks so much for your time. It's great to see you, my friend. Stay safe, stay strong, keep up the great work. And next time you're at the church, you got to bring those bagpipes with you.
I'll do it. That would be awesome.
All right, buddy. God bless.
Thank you.